Hi, everyone. I'm Krista Tomlinson, and tonight we are here on Superhero Fiction with a podcast about superheroes and their fashion. I am an author of superhero romances. My first novel has already been published with as Blaze, and I'm going to let everyone kind of go around and introduce themselves and share a little bit about themselves before we get started.
We all just go at once?
You can start.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm hearing an echo in my ear. I'm not sure what happened, but okay. All right. So, Samantha, if you want to go ahead.
Sure. So I'm Samantha Bryant. I write the Menopausal Superheroes series, which you can see over here behind me. And I just had a new one come out just a few days ago. The latest in the series is called Through Thick and Thin.
My name is Nancy O'Toole-Mazurvier, librarian by day, author of superhero fiction by night. I'm the author of the Red and Black series and also very recently a collection of fantasy short stories called The Lady of the Watchtower.
Hi, my name is Amanda Cherry. I am an author of superhero, urban fantasy, and by the way, those two things are not the same, and role-play game fiction. My debut novel is called Rights and Desires. It's in the Cobalt City universe, and soon, my second book will be coming out in the Strowlers universe from Zombie Orpheus Entertainment, and I'm super excited for a character to punch a Nazi.
That's always cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well, tonight we're going to be talking about fashion with superheroes. So we'll be looking at superhero fashion as far as mainstream heroes as well as our own heroes that we've written. So I'm just going to kind of go through and start with our questions. And if you have anything you want to add, to just go ahead and jump in and let me know. So first, and I'm just going to start with Nancy and then just kind of go around because that's how you're showing up for me. So first, what have been the biggest fashion mistakes you've seen in the superhero genre?
Sure. And, just for a little background information, when I was in college, this great superhero MMO came out called City of Heroes. I don't know if any of you have played it. Good. And they have an amazing character creator where you can make your own character's costume. And one thing I learned from that is there's a very fine line between a really distinct costume and a disorganized mess. Spend enough hours obsessing over belt buckles and it kind of becomes obvious. And one sort of redesign that I feel fell in victim of this was back during the New 52 run. Wonder Woman got a new costume, and I understood the thought process behind it. She was the only one running around in a bathing suit when everyone else was covered mostly from head to toe. But the outfit that they gave her was just too many ideas at once. She had giant shoulder pads and these random white stars everywhere, and there was no cohesive element to it, and it just didn't stick with you. I didn't really remember the costume all that well, except for the fact that I didn't like it. And it didn't last very long, so I feel like most people felt the same. I have nothing against Wonder Woman in pants, but this was just not the right way to do it. So I think that, to me, that was a recent example that didn't go very well.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look at that. I can't remember. I know that there was the one that had something that looked like jeans or whatever, but I can't remember that one. I'm gonna have to go and look it up now so I can see how bad it was. Mm-hmm. Okay, Samantha?
So my least favorite has got to be the yellow pajamas for Wolverine. Because my boy Logan, he is a white t-shirt, blue jeans, flannel shirt kind of man. There ain't no way that he would wear bright yellow pajamas no matter who it meant he got to fight with. So that was always one that I never bought for a second that he wore it.
I've never heard them referred to as pajamas. That's hilarious. Amanda?
I have two things that are pet peeves, and they're both sort of very general cross-genre, cross-superhero comments. Number one, not to be full Edna, but the cape is 100% putting fashion before function. If you try to sit down in a cape and you forget to floof it out from behind you, you're going to sit on it. It's going to choke you. It's going to mess up the line of your outfit. If you're flying, it's going to create drag. And then there are the problems with it getting caught indoors, it getting caught in jet intake. If it's wet, it's going to weigh you down. Capes are lovely and they make a wonderful fashion statement, but they should always break away at the epaulets, or else they're just not particularly useful for fighting crime and saving the city. My other major superhero costume pet peeve, and I feel like everybody on the panel is going to nod when I say this, is that there is a line between support and this is a push-up bra and she's never going to be able to catch her breath. Also, the how deep a V, how much décolleté can you show that they're not going to pop out when she is beating the snot out of the bad guy.
There's also the ones that look like they had to actually be glued to the woman, because what else would be holding that on?
Right, yeah. Especially if there's like straps. Like, what is this?
At which point it has to be fully rigid, and like there's going to be a chafing problem later on. So I really do think the other sort of major problem that comic books, which I think have historically been drawn and written by men, which could have obviously nothing at all to do with this problem, is that boobs are just constantly mistreated. They're either not supported, or they're supposed to stand up on their own, or they're gonna chafe, or they're gonna fall out of the outfit, or they're so well supported that you're not gonna be able to catch a deep enough breath to swing a fist. So those are my two favorite things. Capes and boobs.
I remember a trend for a while was like the outfit, like Catwoman had this, like where it was unzipped like halfway for all these female superheroes, and I remember looking at being like when is that gonna like get unzipped the rest of the way? That's not like secure at all.
Right? Like that needs to be a really trustworthy locking zipper.
Yeah.
Right. I actually saw that
at some point.
Yeah, I saw that picture. I was looking for pictures for something the other day, and I saw that, I think it was my first time really noticing it, and I thought that it was fan art. I was like, I don't want to choose this in case this is fan art, because this is so ridiculous that it does that. I didn't think that it was real Catwoman art, so I didn't choose it, and now I know that it is. So, goodness gracious. Okay, well, those are some good ones. Okay, so for your own work, how much attention do you give to your character's costume, seeing as how it's on the page and it's not visual? Like, do you really put thought into it, into what they're wearing, even though the readers can't see it, or do you just kind of make it up? Nancy?
I think it's tricky because like when you're dealing with a visual medium like a comic or a movie, like all you need to do to make like an impression is just have your hero walk out and look badass. But you can't really do that as much on the page because you have to describe it. And really, no one wants to read like 3 pages of you describing every fold of fabric.
Right.
So I've tried to get as much of a. Or you do? Oh, sorry.
Oh, I would totally read that. I would totally read that.
Okay. So I try to get a bit of a balance. Like the most important characters, my 2 main characters, like you get to see their, costumes pretty well described. And the secondary ones, I'm not quite as, don't have as much description unless they're a character that's known for their outer appearance. And so for me, I just try to stick with describing what sticks out the most about their physical appearance or their costume in this case.
Okay. Samantha?
So for the menopausal superhero series, they didn't begin the series as superheroes. The first book is very much an origin story about these women who just get powers. So the costumes came later, a second and third book in, before they are a part of anything, and costuming is something they have other than like that temporary vigilante stuff that people tend to end up with to hide their identity. But the way I've played with it mostly is by concentrating on how they feel about their costuming. Like one of my characters is Fuerte, and Fuerte was born Linda Alvarez, and at the beginning of the first book, he was transformed into Leonel Alvarez. It's, it happens in the first chapter, so very minor spoiler for my books. But because throughout the book, he's got this kind of trans journey of becoming comfortable with this man's body. They're extremely uncomfortable with everything that calls attention. And of course, they're very good looking, and everybody wants him to use, to make him a handsome hunk front man kind of thing. And he's like, So I think that's one of the ways that I focus it is, I talk about what they're wearing, but more couched in character and how they feel, or in how it's in their way, practical or impractical for what they're trying to do.
Okay. That makes sense. I like that. Amanda?
I am in a slightly different situation in that I inherited my heroes. They all exist in a sandbox. It's a shared universe. And when you're working in IP like that and you're working with heroes that someone else created, there's not a lot you can do to the costume without sort of breaking works in progress by 9 other authors.
Right.
I am very grateful. One of the things that really drew me to Cobalt City is that these characters are dressed in a way that makes sense for them. Velveteen looks a certain way and the Huntsman looks a certain way. And when I say these words, you pretty much are picturing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Wild Cat, she is literally half cat. And so she wears a cat suit and that makes sense. These characters really are dressed in a way that really marries sort of the traditional superhero aesthetic with their own personality, with their own brand of superpower, whether it actually be superpower or they are just very, very good at something. And it's fun to play with a little. It's fun to give Stardust new gadgets. It's fun to give Huntsman a little bit different color of something or a little bit different flavor of something. But yeah, I'm playing with sandbox heroes, so I didn't get to create any of their outfits.
But at least you already had some of that work done for you, though.
It's true. It's a blessing and a curse. I'm like, oh, what does this look like? Drag and drop. Done. Right.
Well, kind of just going on with that, how do you make your costumes visual for your readers? So do you, I know Nancy already mentioned that you don't spend pages and pages going over it, but do you, how often do you think that you would mention it in the series, or do you have other characters call attention to it?
Well, as I mentioned before, I kind of stick with what sticks out the most about their costumes, which in the case of Dawn, my hero, is the color palette. Like before she gets her official superhero name, she's known as Miss Red and Black. So she dresses in red and black. And there are ways that you can sort of draw attention to elements of the costume without necessarily going back to describing things over and over again. Like one thing Dawn constantly discovers over the course of the series is that it's really hard to be stealthy when you're wearing a bright red outfit. So it can be like a source of humor as well. Alex, my other lead, he's the supervillain Fault Line for a bit. And with him, he's a very physically large character and physically imposing. And the fact that he wears like this armor makes him very intimidating. So when I'm describing him, I mostly focus on, like the physical intimidating aspect.
Okay. All right. Samantha, did you want to mention it? I know you mentioned a lot for your previous one, so did you have anything you want to add to that? Or
yeah, I found that for conveying it on the page where you don't actually get a picture, it's just what I do with my words. I find that comparisons are really useful to be able to say that, compare it to something that's not superhero, like something that a gymnast might wear, or something that something like the armor that a soldier might wear, or something like a biker might wear. That gives you kind of some categories and helps the reader quickly visualize it. And then, one of my characters, Jessica, is more interested in costuming than the other ones because before, in her early life, she was a gymnast. And so she's kind of used to this whole idea of the costuming being part of it. And she's why a lot of the heroes in the UCU now have what they call their show costume and their working costume. The show one's all flashy and looks cool and is great when you're having your photograph taken by the paparazzi. But when you're actually working and solving a crime, you're wearing black protective things that make you hard to see and harder to hurt.
I love that. That's very smart.
Nice.
Amanda?
For me, there was this really sort of fun game I had to play of how much is too much and how much is not enough. Because with the understanding that any book you pick up could be your introduction to the Cobalt City universe, to these characters, to what they look like and how they function, I needed to put enough on the page that they would be recognizable in whatever someone were to pick up next. I would need to put enough on the page to make them equally recognizable to someone who had read every single book in the Cobalt City universe, and yet not so much as to feel redundant to people who are reading my book immediately on the heels of another book. So, I just read this book that is nothing but the huntsman going around and doing X, Y, and Z. And she spent a page and a half describing what the huntsman is wearing. And I knew that already. And so, I'm going to start skipping pages, then I'm going to get bored, and then I'm going to put the book down, and I'm never going to review it on Amazon, and then the author's never going to get recommended it. Right? We don't spiral like that at all, folks.
It's a whole spiral. That's a lot of pressure. That's a very fine tightrope you're walking there.
It was definitely the challenge of make sure a reader that is new to Cobalt City gets the right mental picture, lest they go pick up someone else's book. And a reader that is devoted to Cobalt City isn't bored, or heaven forbid I misrepresent something.
Oof.
And Cobalt City has a small but loyal fan base, and the nits do get picked.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the other thing, is to make sure I got it right.
Yeah, okay, we were used to this character. They've had a blue check mark, and now you want to make it green. You can't just change the character. You've got to be really careful with stuff like that. Hey, so this one, I'm a big fan of fan art. So have any of you all ever had fan art commission of any of your heroes or heroines and their gear? Has anyone ever had that? And if you have, please make sure you post the link in the chat later so that we can see it.
Yeah.
Not me. I haven't. Although I have heard of people sort of, commissioning their own sort of, official art. And I'm kind of tempted for when the series ends as a way to celebrate, because it would be really cool to see that.
You totally should. I think that I've seen several other authors, maybe in our group, that I've mentioned before, getting fan art of their characters done, and it's always just a treat. So if you do, I would love to see it.
When my first book was published, that was a gift I bought myself to celebrate. I was online friends with a graphic artist named Charles C. Dowd, and I really liked his work. And I asked him, "So, do you take small commissions?" And he was like, "Yes." And so I hired him to draw my characters. And then I have that art, and I use it all the time in different kinds of promotional things,
Cool.
a picture of Helen with a quote from the book, or, and my favorite one is where I took all the different people and put them together into this banner. So they look all heroic standing there together. and it was really fun because, he's got a distinct style of these kind of blockier looking people. And so I liked how it felt, it was a fun style, and he did a great job picking up just the right details of the characters, considering that he mostly just read the descriptions I sent him. I don't think he read the books before he started drawing. Artists amaze me with their ability to get the heart of something without having seen the whole thing.
Right.
But that's the best present I bought myself, and that was 5 years ago that the first book came out the first time, and I still use that art all the time.
Awesome. I'm definitely going to have to look and see it later on. Hey, Amanda?
I have not been made aware of any Cobalt City fan art. If y'all are out there listening to this and it exists, my DMs are open on Twitter. But what I do know is that several of the other authors have had their characters included as part of their official cover art. It's sort of a thing that happens with Cobalt City. My main character is actually a villain, and that's her. And Lee Moyer did this amazing cover for me.
Ooh.
There's Ruby, right? She's all kinds of hot. And so, I know Eric Scott DeBee's Eye for an Eye has Stardust and Lady Vengeance on the cover. Snowflake War Journal has Snowflake. He's our foul-mouthed panda. He's on the cover. So I really am digging the idea that Samantha just had of photoshopping everybody together. I feel like I'm going to go mine the cover art and get a Cobalt City Heroes banner
I love
now.
this. Do it.
That is really clever, and it is way outside my skill set, and yet watch me try to do it.
You can do anything in Canva. You can figure it out.
In Marvel, where it's just this poster that's just all the characters. Yeah.
Yeah, I need this now. Thank you for giving me a time suck. Thank you so much.
Good. I just love seeing it. I follow so many different artists on Twitter, and so it's always super cool just to see. It's normally a way that I normally get involved in a new fandom because I saw some cool fan art, and so now I've got to follow that trail, and now I've got something new to read or watch. So I will definitely have to check those out. Okay. Favorite superhero costume and favorite villain costume.
I'm gonna pick, because I picked on DC for worst. I'm gonna pick a DC one for best. To be fair, I have a real soft spot for the costumes they did for DC Bombshells, which is this really cool like alternate history comic they did where they took all these female DC superheroes and supervillains, and they plucked them down in World War II. And so they redesigned all of their costume to like this sort of 40s vintage, like pinup style art. And they're all like great. Like I really like sort of like the look of vintage fashions. And I love, female superheroes, of course. So that was kind of catnip to me. And just reading the comics and getting to see how each character was sort of redesign was just really cool. Like, oh wow, like Lois Lane's kind of like a newsie and stuff like that. But probably my favorite of them all was Batwoman, where she has, they take her like her red and black sort of color palette, which clearly I'm fond of because my character was in red and black, and they make it like sort of like this baseball outfit, which is a new play on like the bat part of her name. So it's really cute. I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that. I've seen the Bombshells, but I don't think I've seen that particular one. So I'm definitely going to have to go and look that up.
Yeah.
Okay. And then your favorite villain?
Oh, villain. Okay. So for villains, I feel like people are a little lukewarm on like the Marvel movie villains. Like some aren't as effective as other ones and such. But I feel like they always look really cool. Like they stick out to you. Like Killmonger's tattoos are like, oh, like so visually impressive. And like I love the way that Loki's like outfit shifts to sort of suit the mood. But I think the one that has stuck with me the most was Hela. And Thor Ragnarok. Like I just remember watching that trailer for the first time and seeing her turn and like those sort of like cool antler things. And I just felt like her look in that movie was like the perfect mix of like really cool and but very intimidating at the same time, which was really nice. I like that a lot.
Yes, definitely. One of my favorites too.
Yeah, Kate Blanchett. Whew.
I know,
That's great.
Can't go wrong there. Samantha, your favorite superhero costume and favorite villain costume?
So for superheroes, probably my longest standing favorite is Spider-Man. Yeah, Spider-Man was also the first superhero I remember being just, loving. And I think the costume is bright, colorful, fun, and it's also like really well suited to his needs for privacy because you can't see anything that would tell you who he is. And it's very practical for his skill set as well. Nothing's in his way, no capes. Not getting caught as he tries to swing through the city or trying to teeter on little high heels as we do to a lot of our female heroines. So I think I always liked that one. More recently, I actually really liked what they did in the Captain Marvel movie with Carol Danvers. With it, her costume kind of being a military uniform, which she then changed to become her. And that moment when she's sitting on the porch with Monica and they redesign it together, I was like, oh.
Yeah, that was super cute.
Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, and I like Captain Marvel. I read her in the graphic novels as well. But on the other hand, for villains, so I'm looking forward to Amanda sending somebody to punch Nazis because Nazis scare me. And so I think my scariest villains are all kind of the Nazi themed ones, like Red Skull.
Yes.
And or worse yet, that zombie Nazi guy. I had to look up his name, Cronin from Hellboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Jack Boots. Oh no, can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, when they give you that good reaction where you're just like, that lets you know that they really designed it well.
Yeah, there's something just instantly chilling for me about that uniform silhouette and that. Well, I mean, it makes sense. I'm a Jew. Of course, I'm afraid of Nazis. Yeah. Duh.
Well, I'm glad that you have your favorites there. But yeah, it's definitely one that will make you just kind of step back. The Red Skull's always just been he's just creepy.
Yeah, super creepy.
Amanda.
So for favorite hero, I have to mention two because I have two favorites for two completely polar opposite reasons. Spider-Gwen, because of her ballet shoes and her turquoise and pink color palette. The little girl, Manda, that never got into comic books because the art didn't appeal to me, needed Spider-Gwen. She, to me, is one of those characters that I can hand a comic to a 6-year-old girl and that kid's going to light up. And that's going to speak to really girly girls who could be reading comic books but think they're not for them. So I love Spider-Gwen for that. I love it because she's a girl and she's unapologetic about it. And again, ballet shoes. And the other one that I just adore is this modern DC cinematic Wonder Woman. I love that it is culturally appropriate for Diana's backstory. It gives a nod to the pieces of history that the threads that they tugged on to create the mascara and what's going on there. I love that the heels are a wedge and she could run in them all day long. It's not some little pointy spiky heel. I love that it looks and feels like leather armor. Just everything about that costume, I think they did right. And then they put Gal Gadot in it, and hey! Again, like the boobs are supported and covered, and yet like don't look like they're going to come flying out. Really, I just think that costume was masterfully done. So that is also, from an intellectual standpoint, that costume gets an A+ for me.
Definitely.
That movie has one of my favorite costume moments ever, which is when Steve takes her shopping and they're trying to find something for her to wear that's appropriate. And she's like, how do you even fight in this thing?
What is a button and why do I have to wear it? That whole movie was
great.
Love it. As for a villain, it's less the costume and more the whole character design. The Tim Burton Batman Penguin. The way that he took what we would recognize as the Penguin and made it a certain flavor of more grotesque, but still kept it true. Like there was no doubt when you saw that, that's who that was.
Right.
And yet it was reinvented in a way that really fit the whole aesthetic of the Tim Burton oeuvre and really worked with everything else that went on in that film. I thought that was just a brilliant casting decision, a brilliant character design. I think they went just far enough without going too campy and too cartoony, which, don't get me wrong, I love some campy Batman. Batman Forever is my favorite Batman movie. But it was just right. That and yes, Hela was also amazing. Yes.
Yeah, Hela was on my list, but I was like, okay, we got that one. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I think she's on a lot of people's lists.
She's phenomenal.
Yeah, you mentioned the Penguin. One thing that always creeped me out about the way that they, in a good way, that they what they did with his costume and character was just his long johns, I guess, or whatever those are supposed to be, and they're all dirty, and I'm just like, oh, why is he dirty? And it's just like it matches what it goes with his character because he's living in the sewers, but it's just such a strange thing that he's got these dirty long johns on underneath his suits and tuxedos. So I always enjoyed that little part of his character. Hey, let's see. Do you stick to the genre conventions of reds and blues for heroes and like greens and purples for villains? It's they've kind of moved away from that a little bit. Obviously, we've got characters like the Green Lantern, but you tend to see like with Spider-Man, he's got the red, blue, and the bright colors. So, do you stick with that in your own writing when you're giving your characters costumes, or have you just kind of thrown it out the window and gone with your own color schemes?
You know, it's kind of funny when you send over these questions. When I got to this, I'm like, "What is she talking about?" And I'm like, "Oh God, I did that in my first book." So I must have sort of absorbed it on a subconscious level because Dawn, my hero, she wears red, which is one of the heroic colors, and Alex, who's more ambiguous in the middle, he wears like a very dark gray that's kind of like black, which can go either way. And we have my villain, and she doesn't wear like a costume per se, but she always wears green. So I didn't stick to these conventions throughout the entirety of the series, but for my first book, I totally ended up doing this. So it must have like sunk in subconsciously or something like that.
Just like you took it in and didn't even realize you'd taken it in.
Exactly. I mean, I guess I just read enough comics that it'll do that.
Samantha?
So, like I said, I didn't have costuming at the beginning because my characters don't become a part of a group and become like those kinds of superheroes for a little while. But I find that it's I don't have a clear set for it. It's like it comes from each character. So like, Patricia, who's the lizard woman of Springfield, she has a transformational power where like she looks human and she turns into this bulletproof lizard woman. And
awesome.
she flat, even when she got recruited, into the kind of superhero organization, she flat out refused to have any kind of costume. She was like, I am too old for this playtime crap. But what she did accept was their high-tech technology that had pants that would better survive her transformations. She was tired of shredding all her clothes.
Okay, that's fair.
But yeah, the colors and such, no, I haven't really, it just kind of came with each character, whatever they told me they wanted.
Okay.
And yeah, I really don't. I dress people, honestly, here I am. I dress people according to their complexion, what colors are actually going to look good on them, because I feel as though if I'm going to give a hero, whether or not we're talking about a costumed moment or a mundane secret identity moment, I feel like that character's got enough agency to know what looks good on them. And so I'm going to dress them in a way that they would dress themselves. I came to writing as an actor, and so I really get into the characters' heads, and truly, I just sort of look into the imaginary closet and be like, well, Sabrina, she's got blonde hair right now, and her costume is kind of black and white with a little flourish of red, but that's not really going to work as much, so maybe I'm going to put her in a blue dress today. Like, I really dress them more according to their complexion and the time of year than I do that sort of outdated Americana color theory of red, white, and blue good guys, and other colors are for less good guys.
Right. Cool. I don't think I did that with my characters either. I think I just went with what sounded cool for them or kind of what matched what they were doing. So that's cool that we're moving away from that. Hey, let's see. Do you prefer a team uniform or some type of coordinated looks, or do you have your heroes in their own completely individual style for if you have teams or anything like that in your series?
I don't write a team series, so my heroes are definitely in their own individual styles. I do have a duo that shows up in a later book who wear kind of like outfits that are similar, but one has like silver accents, the other has gold accents. So they're kind of matching. I like the look of when you see like a team of heroes show up and they look like they're a unit. But I do think there has to be something about them, the individual costumes that stands out so you could tell them apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was a big thing of contention with the when they first came out with the X-Men movies, that everybody was just all in black. And some people,
it was a little too similar. Yeah.
Like we need something to kind of distinguish them. I think Storm was really the only one because she had the cape, the silver cape going. I think that was the one where she had that. But hey, Samantha.
So the UCU, my Unusual Cases unit that my heroes eventually come to work for, I would call the non-powered agents definitely have kind of a uniform. They have this blue jumpsuit thing that they wear, and if you're in the know, you know that that's who they are. It's supposed to look kind of backgroundy, like that might be somebody who works in maintenance, so you don't instantly know who they are. But the powered heroes, if they're the front facing ones, and that's a big deal in it too, like which ones are the on camera ones, right? The publicity people. They have very distinct, very individual costumes that are all about flashiness and attention. But then, like I said, they also have their other uniform, which is what they wear when they're actually working. And that's much more like what we were talking about in the X-Men. It's just very practical, black, flexible, and strong to protect you from getting hurt while you're doing very dangerous work.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I like that you guys are having the practical aspects to your costuming for these characters, even though they're not being shown that has to have that, but you put so much thought into making sure that makes sense for them. It's super cool.
One of my characters got shot in one of the books, and it was a whole big thing with all the other characters. Like, it's because the show costume is not bulletproof. This is not acceptable.
Right.
They all have Kevlar because you never know.
Right. Yeah. If you're gonna have me out there doing something, then let's give me some protection, please.
Yeah. Only one of the heroes is bulletproof. The other ones have other skills. Yeah.
The talents lie elsewhere. Just saying. Cobalt City doesn't have a formal team right now, but it is known in the lore that there have been periods of time when there were formal teams and there was a formal alliance. There was the Protectorate at one point. So as of now, all of the heroes are very much individual and they're all friendly with each other, or for the most part. Character Stardust, but that's a whole thing. And so they team up when necessary, when their skills sort of need to combine to make something happen. I thought that was all I needed in the world, or to have individual heroes with differentiated skill sets able to work together and have the young people and the older people and the boys and the girls and the non-binary people all have mutual respect and enjoy each other's differences. But then I saw that last Avengers movie and everybody marching out in their matching white outfits. And I was like, oh. So the book I'm in the early outlining stages of right now actually contains time travel. And I am seriously considering finding an excuse to visit one of these prior eras when the Cobalt City superheroes had a team, because those eras have not been particularly well explored. So I could absolutely design a team outfit and just little Super Von traps, and it would be like a lot of fun. And so I am toying with the team costume just because I can put it in like the 1950s and make it extra cute.
Yeah, you definitely should. There's this, just the time alone of going on Pinterest to get color schemes and all that kind of stuff. That's we have to do all that first before we start writing.
Sorry, did you call them Super Von traps? Did I hear that right?
I did it. It would be like,
oh, that's great. So now I've got so long, farewell. I'll say goodbye.
That's perfect. Okay. Let's see. It's already that one. How does subgenre affect your costume choice? So if you're writing anything that's, I don't know exactly the worlds that you guys have set. So if it's not strictly like the cape and cowl type, solving a crime in the middle of a city type thing, if you're doing anything, any different from that, do you have any, does that affect the choices in your costumes, or do you just kind of stick with just regular superhero type outfits?
In my universe, like, superhero comics came first before people started actually getting superpowers. So Dawn, my main character, like, she totally has a very like she has a cape, sorry, but a very like sort of a classic superhero type outfit. But at the same time, I'm not writing anything too wild and crazy, so I do like to have my costumes sort of with a foot in reality. Like Alex Faultline, for example, like his abilities are he can sense weak points and exploit them, which means that he might knock a building down, and which is very dangerous, especially because he doesn't have any healing abilities or invulnerabilities or anything like that, which is why he wears armor. So actually at the end of the first book, I had a little fun by damaging his armor. So throughout the second book, he's very conscious about the fact that his armor is damaged and he can't damage it anymore, because it will make him vulnerable. So of course, at the end of the book, he has to fight someone who's stronger than him, and it adds like a ticking time bomb element as his armor is slowly being more and more destroyed throughout the fight. But yeah, like I try to keep in mind like what my characters actually need when I'm designing the costumes.
Okay. All right, Samantha.
So mine are kind of funny in that I call them suburban superheroes because, you know, the city they're associated with is pretty small. You know, it's a made up city, Springfield, but it's kind of combined of cities that are near me. I live in North Carolina, so like Durham and Raleigh are nearby cities. They're quite small. This is not Metropolis, right? And so that plays into things a little bit, I think, in terms of what kind of style is actually going to appeal to the populace. If they are too slick, then that actually makes them untrustworthy so far as the public is concerned, and that kind of thing. So I think the setting does have a little bit of effect on it that way. But otherwise, like Nancy, I'm just thinking about the practicalities, like what could they be wearing that would help? And sometimes, you know, costuming is kind of a plot element where what they're wearing turns out to be a hindrance and is a problem for what they're trying to do, and they have to address that or undress that or something.
Oh, there's a segue. Speaking of undressing, I'm running Lady Vengeance right now, and she is one of the members of the Cobalt City universe who has been an inconsistent hero. In fact, she spent a lot of time hiding from her powers and also from, you know, people that are trying to kill her because of her powers. But she is very much in denial of the power she has. She doesn't want to use it. She's not particularly interested in it. And because of that, she hasn't had a consistent costume in a long time. And this book I'm writing just so happens to be a superhero romance, which is not anything I've done before. I'm co-authoring it with Eric Scott DeBee, and we're having way more fun than anyone should be having at work. But so because of that, I am allowing her romantic interest in this story to help inform her super gear. So because it is a romance and because it is the origin story of these two characters who, if any two characters have ever deserved each other, oh my word, it's going to be a little sexier than maybe I would have given the exact same character in a story that is not centering romance. So, you know, the next time you see her, she may be wearing that and a coat. You know, they may very well take away some of the more BDSM-y elements to what I'm going to put her in. But it's the fact that it's subgenre romance versus subgenre action or urban fantasy is definitely informing my choices for Vivian, for sure.
Definitely. Maybe she'll end up looking kind of, I don't know if you watch My Hero Academia, but the character Midnight.
I have not. Do I need to? Am I writing this down?
Yeah,
you need to watch it. It's great.
A fellow My Hero Academia fan. Hi.
I have a podcast about it. Actually, I'm a big
That's
fan.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. We talked about that in the one we did with, I think, romance the podcast panel. Yeah, definitely check out the character Midnight. She's a very very sexy character, and she's got this whole BDSM thing going. So if you ever want a visual aid, you can check her gear out.
I will be Googling that presently.
and this is kind of just want to add this one in. I just thought of it actually when Nancy was responding to the question. Does anyone ever mention where their superheroes get their gear, or is it just like mentioned on they just appear from nowhere that they have superhero costumes?
Fault Line, Alex, he is working for a villain, so he gets his gear from them, at least until it gets destroyed. And Dawn, her powers and her costumes are a package deal. They come together. But at the beginning of the book, she doesn't remember how she got her powers, so it's a bit of a mystery.
Okay. Samantha?
So there's a character named Helen who would like you to call her Flamethrower, but everybody just calls her Helen. And she spent part of the first book trying to create her own costuming because she kept burning up her clothes because, just because she can wield fire doesn't mean that her clothes became fireproof.
Mm-hmm.
So she ended up creating a look that was, probably not as heroic as she thought. Big yellow tunic with a little flame she made out of felt, and she had her high top sneakers. And yeah, I think actually if I tried to make a superhero costume for myself, it might have come out a lot like this because I don't have these skills. So
No.
Helen tried to go the homemade route, and it did not go so well.
It did not work out.
Yeah, the other characters didn't really have any costuming other than like putting on a hoodie or the mask, like a bandana to try to hide who they were early on until they got to the UCU. And of course, the UCU has a uniform and equipment department. So that's where they get their stuff now.
Okay. And then Amanda?
In Cobalt City, there's actually a guy who's got a business making superhero suits. There are enough heroes that are drawn to this place that a while ago, a fellow discovered that he could make a pretty good living making super gear. So he does. And in fact, a lot of the, in Jeremy Zimmerman's Kensei series, which teenage lesbian, half African-American, half Japanese Hawaiian superhero. She's epic. She's incredible. I believe it was the first Kensei book, she sort of throws her own costume together as best she can. And I think it is more like a hoodie and like some motorcycle pants, like a biker jacket, maybe that's a little more armored. And pretty much what happens is when a young person in Cobalt City begins to develop powers and is sort of going out and using them in attempts to save the city, they get noticed by the more established heroes and basically get dragged by the elbow to the guy. You're like, no, you need a proper super suit and you need it now.
Yeah.
So, it's a well-known, I think he's got a legit dry cleaner or tailor or something business in the front, and then like his top secret cape and cowl business in the back. And so there's a store and there's a guy, and you got to know where you're going, and
yeah, you have to know someone to get there.
Yes, and picturing like the Taylor and the Kingsman.
The city's preeminent superhero happens to be a tech billionaire, so everyone can afford a super suit because Stardust has got this.
Yeah, it's funny. You don't often see that character. I think in the watching Black Lightning, there's the character obviously who has, and of course his name just bumped out of my brain. But they have that character who designs the outfits for the family, and then I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of the TV show, Titans. They have when they finally give Nightwing his Nightwing costume instead of his Robin costume, they show him actually going to get it. But I do remember seeing in a reader group that I was in, I think a romance reader group, and they were saying that they wanted to read a character who designs the costumes for the hero. So if any of you guys want that plot point, you can go ahead and take that and write something for it. Because someone mentioned they would love to see that character who's doing the work to get the superheroes ready to fight. So I'm giving that as a freebie.
I need an actual Edna Mode novel. I really do.
Sorry?
I need an actual Edna Mode novel. Like
Incredibles.
I mean, The Incredibles. So my husband and I watched The Incredibles on our first date. Like if we didn't call it a date yet, but it was a date. And then Incredibles 2 was actually our son's very first film in the theater. So our family has this super cute family connection to The Incredibles. And I happen to love Edna because she's grumpy and into fashion, much like myself. So when we were at Disneyland, she was like the only character that I freaked out and waited in a queue. So yeah, I could have all the Edna Mode content. Thank you very much.
Hey, we have a question from the comment section that says, "Is there any iconic hero that you feel needs a wardrobe upgrade?" So, Nancy, should anyone like to take that since that one was a prepared question?
I'd like to see Supergirl get something a little more distinct. I feel like she's had a lot of, in the comics at least. This TV show's fine, but in the comics, she's had a lot of bad, really, really bad costumes over the years. And that were just basically all about, yeah. So I'd like to see her get something a little more distinct. That would be nice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one I don't know her comic book costumes too well, but I know the cartoon ones from like Justice League, and the one that she had that was like the blue mini skirt and like the white crop top was just like such a, I guess that was maybe a choice of the times because it's such an odd choice to me now watching it in 2020. It's like that's what they had her wearing. So I'm glad
she's
they
worn
finally...
like booty shorts and stuff like that, and I'm like, no, especially because I mean, how old is she supposed to be again? Sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
they mess with their age. So, but yeah, that was just a weird choice for me. Samantha?
I can't bring one to mind. Like, I mean, there are some heroes that, you know, definitely their clothes are extremely impractical, but now those are so ingrained in my mind with the character that it's hard to imagine them else. Like, you know, one of my early loves was Red Sonja, who one reason I liked reading her is because I was sure that I was too young and I should not be allowed to read her. I was getting away with something because she was almost naked.
Forbidden fruit.
But you know, if somebody were to give her different a look now, I'm not sure I'd like it. You know,
yeah,
I'm so used to that. Even though it is extremely impractical, unless your skin is like made of diamond or something impenetrable like this, you know, I don't think you should go into battle quite that skimpily dressed.
Yeah, she's definitely brave for doing it.
Yeah, you can get cuts in very uncomfortable places.
And sunburn.
Sunburn.
Yeah, she's also very pale.
Yeah. That was an odd choice. Yeah, but I agree. It would be weird because you know, as soon as they put her in something different, everybody would go, "Whoa, what's that?" You know. So I totally understand.
Now I'm thinking, as someone who has to slather on sunscreen for like 10 minutes before I go outside, like for more than 10 minutes, like how long it takes, like how long must it take for some of these like female superheroes to like just go? Like, oh, that's crazy. Yeah.
All the effort. Like by then the crime is over. Somebody else has already solved the problem.
Yeah. So when we write that costumer character, they need to have a line of skin products as well.
Yeah. Actually, that would be a super fun like side story. Like if anyone's got a Patreon, like that would be a fun side story to be like how we handle super skincare, because the wind can shape if you're flying, like the sunscreen issue.
Nobody wants chapped lips.
Think about
from all that leather.
And like the potential for perspiration stains. Like that's a whole thing. Just being real here.
Yeah, you should definitely write some little shorts and one shots for your picture to go over that. But is there anyone that you would upgrade?
So I have found Black Widow's outfit boring.
Yeah.
Always. I think Black Widow is so badass and her powers are so keen that I think they could have done better by her. They're like, oh, a black catsuit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they could have jazzed it up with some.
Right. Put her in purple. I think you could do something more than just a black catsuit. I think Black Widow has been cheated that way. Give her the Spider-Gwen treatment. Give her a little pop of color. I mean, there's something. And I think I have decided that I'm bored of Captain America. Every time his suit gets a redesign, it's not actually a redesign. It's like they changed the fabric on the same outfit.
The silhouette's always the same.
And it's a little less gaudy.
But like the logo doesn't move or change font sizes. Like I am holding out for not being bored by Captain America anymore in the cinematic universe, only because of a casting choice they've made. So maybe the same suit on a different silhouette of a guy is gonna make me feel better about it. But the same blonde guy in the basically same suit, even they're like, we changed the suit. No, you didn't.
Like,
You
no,
didn't.
his
Not
gloves
really.
are a darker brown. That's the same.
I feel like people were afraid to mess with something that iconic.
Yeah.
So they instead of just saying, no, we are keeping the suit and it's going to be a legacy suit and he's going to wear the same thing he's always worn, they're like, we're going to change it. And then they did a half-assed job of changing it. So I'm not saying it doesn't look a little better, but it doesn't really look any different. So
Well, you can sell more action
All of the
figures.
bat nipples, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the bat nipples.
Well, when you mess with that stuff.
I mean, they could have given Chris Evans nipples. I wouldn't have been mad. So I'm hoping that because those tweaks have been so tiny, it is going to feel that much more impactful when the new actor puts it on. Because I'm super excited to see not just the same blonde guy. Again, Chris Evans is beautiful. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Look at him all day long. But that is going to be the biggest change ever made to Captain America visually, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
And his look is really cool in the comic. Yeah. Yeah, that the new character, like his look is really cool in the comic. So I'm eager to see how it looks in real life.
Yeah, they haven't really given any kind of release date, I don't think, for it, if I'm thinking correctly.
No,
but okay.
All the Hollywood unions are still really working on how they're going to be able to get back to work and what they're going to be able to put out and who needs to be in a studio space versus who can somewhat work from home versus who can work from home full time. And all of the guilds are still in negotiations with each other to return to work safely. And I would rather wait an extra year or 2 or even 3 for that film and know that every single person who made that film survived the experience.
Right. Yeah. There's plenty. There's so much content and there's really no need to rush. There's plenty of stuff that we can watch in the meantime. Okay, well, it looks like we've been on for close to an hour, so we should probably wrap it up because I didn't check beforehand, but I think an hour is about what we're supposed to do. Yeah. So does anyone have anything that they want to add, just kind of throw out there about their particular costumes in their book universes, or anything in particular about any comic heroes or movies?
I don't have much to add, but thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this. This was a lot of fun.
This was
I'm
fun.
glad you enjoyed yourself.
I always love doing these. The superhero fiction panels are always super.
I giggle a lot during these.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are fun, especially, it's when you think about going to, conventions and stuff, they can be such a good time, but there's only so many panels to go around, there's only so many, opportunities for people, even if you can get there, to get on a panel. So this is a super cool way for us to kind of get out there and to reach more people and meet more people and kind of talk about what we love. So yay, superhero fiction, for giving us this opportunity. Thank you.
Yes. And I am 100% going to talk to my friend who makes soap to see about getting a superhero scent added to her life.
I wonder what that was. Was that going to be like fresh air, like flying through the air? Is it going to be like, a powerful scent? I love it.
It's going to not smell like Axe body spray. That is the
Please
one
no.
I would guarantee you.
No Axe body spray. We don't need that. No. Let's not bring that back. Is that even still a thing?
That's not
That's for villains.
Not for sexy villains. It's for like wannabe villains.
Yeah.
Exactly.
if you have a hero with a power of scent, that can be how he tracks. I'm like, oh, the axe is over there. That's where he's at.
Oh my gosh! And the villain's name is the Axe.
I hate this guy already.
Like the signature move on his part, and everybody's like, "Dude, you smell like a toad. Like, stop it." Okay, I'm writing that down though. Like, that's gonna show up somewhere.
Okay, well, let us know where readers can find you, your websites or social media, and your recent releases. And then, of course, again, once you get that fan fiction of your art made, don't forget to share that with us so we can see it. Nancy?
Okay, again, I'm Nancy O'Toole Meservier. You can find me my website just at nancyotoole.wordpress.com. I'm on Twitter at WatchNancyTweet. I'm on Instagram at Nancy's Views. And I have a podcast, as mentioned before, One for All, which is all about My Hero Academia, if you want to check that out.
Awesome. Oh, and your latest release?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, what I'm here for is to promote. I I write the Red and Black series. That includes Red and Black, Black and Blue, and Silver and Gold.
Cool. I love it. Samantha?
So I'm Samantha Bryant, and I write the Menopausal Superhero series. You can find me and all my books and all kinds of stuff related to my writing life at samanthabryant.com, because I'm just that creative that I just use my name. This is my latest release. Try to get it up there. This is a collection of short stories that just came out a week ago through Thick and Thin. So right now the series consists of 3 novels and 2 novellas and this set of short stories. And I'm working on the 4th novel now for release next year. And other social media, I'm on Instagram kind of a lot. I'm at Samantha B. Writer, just the letter B, because I thought that was kind of funny. And then I use that one for Twitter as well.
All right, and Amanda?
I am Amanda Cherry. You can find me on my website. That's not true. You can find ways to buy my book on my website, which is www.thegingervillain.com. I swear I will update it again someday. But most updates are things like, I'm going to be at this location on this date. And, well, we're not doing that right now.
Yeah.
You can find links to buy all of the things that I have written and someone has paid me for, and they have printed in books somewhere, which is still blows my mind that that's a thing I do now. My actual book that you can buy, Rights and Desires. There she is, right there. This beautiful cover art by Lee Moyer. I have to show it off all the time because I'm still madly in love with it. You can find that at all your usual suspects: Amazon, Barnes and Noble, bookshop.org, where you can get it through your local indies. Yes, please support indies. This time of plague. And I am on Twitter most of the time. I mean, the fact is I've only checked Twitter like twice during this panel, and I can tell you that's a record low. That is at Amanda the Ginger. And I'm hilarious on Twitter. You should definitely follow me. I mostly tweet about Star Wars, but, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, that's where you can find me. And also here chatting about ridiculous things and comparing superheroes to iconic Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals right here on Superhero Fiction.
Awesome. I'm I'm Krista Tomlinson. You can check out my website at kristatomlinson.com. That's just basically my home base to find out about all of my books and things. I'm mostly on Twitter, and my Twitter handle, you can just type in Krista Tomlinson, and it will bring it up. But my Twitter handle is at ShockZ314 because I started that Twitter when I was still playing roller derby, so that's my derby name.
That was your derby name. I'm Heidi, your boyfriend from the Jet City Roller Girls. So.
Huh? Oh, you play derby too?
I'm a referee.
Oh, awesome! I'm Shocker Zulu. I played for Houston Roller Derby a few years ago.
Okay, yeah, I've totally heard of you. I'm Heidi, your boyfriend, and yeah,
nice.
I whistles at many of your compatriots.
That's awesome. I love it. But yeah, that's. I keep saying I'm going to change it, and then I can't think of anything. And Krista Tomlinson was taken by somebody else forever, so I just gave up on that. But yes, everyone, thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be sure to put the link up on our Superhero Fiction Readers site for everyone to share to check it out later. And I hope you will check out all of the readers or all the authors that came by to speak with us tonight. Thank you all so much. Bye.